The Flash number 25, written by Francis Manapul and Brian Buccellato, art by Francis Manapul and Chris Sprouse. I think Sprouse is on majority of the issue, honestly. So, Zero Year. That's another one of these tie-ins. What was Flash doing back when Batman first started out? So, turns out because of the storm coming in, a lot of cops were called in from other areas, like different towns, and he was fresh out of the academy, and Barry said, hey, I'll go help out in Gotham. And so we open up with him along with two Gotham City vets going through their patrol, and Barry sees a dude who is breaking the law. He is on drugs, so therefore he gives chase, and the Gotham cops, one of them is named Spencer, the other one is Harvey Bullock, is basically like, dude, stop, what are you doing? Why are you running after this guy? But he runs down this guy in some alleys, and Barry manages to corner him, pulls out a taser, and says, all right, freeze, I'm with the police. And then this guy cracks open some drugs, some red dust. And when he does, he says that he has Icarus powers. And Barry's like, yeah, no, it's this new highbrow drug called Icarus that we've been hearing rumors about, and they make people think that they've got superpowers. So this guy takes the drug, and he manages to get the taser away from Barry, tries to fire it at him. Barry gets tackled out of the way by Spencer, and then Bullock comes in and knocks out the guy with a plank of wood. And so as soon as this guy goes down, he bursts into flames. Barry's like, Jesus Christ, all right, help me put out the guy. And as they're trying to put out the things, the door to this back alley opens up, and out steps Iris West. Turns out they are next to the Gotham Gazette, where Iris is working as an intern, and just like, oh yeah, hey, this guy never stood a chance. I've been researching this Icarus stuff, trying to find a story about it, and turns out that as soon as you take it, you are instantly marked to go into spontaneous combustion soon afterwards. So they introduce each other. Barry and Iris are like, ooh, hey, how's it going? So Bullock says, all right, well, we don't really make it a habit of talking to reporters, so we're going to go, bye. And Barry's like, wait, hold, okay. So they get the body into an ambulance, and Spencer and Harvey chew him out by basically saying, our whole plan was that we were going to follow this guy, and he would lead us to wherever these drugs are being dealt. You can't just chase this guy down because he's breaking the law. Sometimes you have to let them break a little bit of the law in order to do the better good in the end. And Barry's like, regardless, it may not be a loss. We can get some information from his charred husk of a body. And he basically explains that this drug is not meant for public consumption yet, because if it always results in your clientele from being killed, then clearly it's not ready for sale, because drug sales are always about return sales, about getting them hooked on it. So at that point, Spencer says, look, storm's coming in. I got to get back to my family. I got a sick kid. Harvey will take care of you for the rest of the night, kid. And Harvey basically says, if you run off again like that, I swear to God, I am shipping you back to Central City. So at that point, they make their way to the free clinic. Their plan is they're going to talk to a couple of junkies, see if they know anything. But as they go to walk in, the place explodes. Barry immediately runs in. Iris is also in there trying to get stories as well. And they just start helping people out one by one. And Bullock is like, I'm sorry, what kind of hero are you? You're just running into burning buildings? Jesus. And he's like, oh, I'm not a hero. And Iris is like, I think you kind of are. And he's like, well, maybe I kind of am. So at that point, building burns down. Spencer's back, and he's like, oh, hey, seems like someone overdosed on Icarus in here, and the whole place went up. And Barry's looking around, he's like, I don't know, I'm in forensics, and there's traces of an accelerant around here. This might have been a purposeful arson to make it so that we couldn't talk to any of the junkies. And immediately Spencer and a bunch of the other cops are just like, dude, we have a drug that catches people on fire. The police are already spread thin enough because of the storm and the blackout and all that. It's the junkies. Let's just let that be a thing, and we can use our resources elsewhere. And Barry's like, but that might not be the truth. And he's like, screw it, they're junkies, who cares? So at that point, him and Iris get separated off from the other cops, and We go back to the Gotham Gazette where Iris has a whole candlelit thing set up where she's been doing her investigation. And she hands Barry an ice cold beer and is like, wait a minute, hold on, power's been out. How do you have an ice cold beer? He's like, oh, I know a fish guy down in Gotham who can still keep stuff cold. So at this point, he's like, all right, if only I could analyze the Icarus, maybe I could figure out where it was made. And Iris just pulls out a little packet of it saying, like, yeah, I got this from one of the guys at the clinic. I was going to have it test run. So he uses a syringe, pulls out some of the drugs, and so they basically start flirting with each other. And then while they're distracted, all of a sudden the drugs catch on fire and she pours beer on it to put it out. And it's like, sorry, I guess I kind of ruined your test. And he's like, no, actually, it responded as soon as it hit the room temperature stuff, which means it has to be kept somewhere that's like ice cold. Tell me about your fish guy down in Gotham. So they head down to this warehouse and we see the fish guy there, and he's like, hey, I said I'd smuggle a few things for you, but this is out of control. And then this mysterious voice says, like, well, that's not good enough. And the fish guy gets shot. And Barry runs out to try to save him, but of course he's too late. And it turns out the guy who's running the whole thing is Spencer, the cop. And he's actually been purposely trying to misdirect Barry this whole time because he's part of this drug trade. So at that point, we have Barry throwing a punch at Spencer, and a couple of the other guys hear another car come up. Turns out it's Harvey, and he was following Barry around from the very start. So he saw Barry go into this building. He wants to know what's up. These other guys almost pull guns on him, but then Harvey fires first, manages to get the drop on him. Spencer inside basically says like, oh, you shouldn't have come here. I'm going to kill you and your reporter friend. But first, he cracks open a thing of the Icarus drug and says, I need to clean up my tracks here. And he pours it into Barry's mouth. And so Barry immediately starts freaking out. And he's like, oh my God, I'm a superhero. I've got superpowers. And he just lunges at Spencer, tackles him down to the ground, starts punching him out. It looks like he is starting to like smoke up, catch on fire. And Iris is like, Barry, you said the only thing that's going to be able to stop this is extreme cold. I need to find something super cold. And as Barry starts to go into full meltdown mode, Spencer's about to pull the gun to shoot him because he was causing problems anyway. But then Bullock steps in and shoots Spencer first through the chest. And Spencer's like, Harvey, don't tell my wife. And he's like, I won't. And then Spencer dies. Meanwhile, Iris this whole time has been going to a refrigeration unit, getting like the pump full of liquid nitrogen, and then just sprays it all over Barry. So week passes, something like that, few days. Spencer's getting a 21 gun salute at his funeral. And Barry's basically like, Harvey, why did you lie? He was a bad cop. And he's like, no. He needed the money to care for his sick kid. And like, yeah, he made a mistake, but should that be reason enough to tarnish the reputation of a dead cop? Like, no, he was a family man. He did good things. You didn't know him like I did. He was my partner for 10 years prior to this. And Barry's like, if you can just make up the rules as you go along, what's the difference between you and that vigilante running around? And Harvey just taps his detective shield and says, this is what it is. So at this point, Barry's heading back to his hometown. He's done his time here in Gotham. He's about to hop on a bus. And Iris is there waiting. And long story short, it starts raining and they share a kiss. So that's going on. And Barry runs to go to catch the bus. And yeah, that's the issue. I like it. I think it's actually great. We haven't gotten any of the backstory as to how Barry and Iris met in this New 52 continuity. And it's just been this idea that there's always been this tension between them. I think this is a great reveal for that. I think for a 0-year issue, like, who cares? It doesn't even matter at all. But in terms of continuity of the Flash book, I think this actually does a great job of setting that up and saying, like, no, see, they had a history. They did this thing, and somewhere along the way it fell off. And that's something that I'm sure eventually in the Flash book we'll get back to. But nice to see it covered here. So overall, I put this at like I'll say 7.5. I would give it the 8, but I gotta say that Chris Sprouse's art and Francis Manapul's art, while both of them are good on their own, they don't blend together that well. It's a very sudden shift when it ends up transitioning over, but it's still fine. It's still a great book. So yeah, 7.5.